Howdy, howdy do, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And welcome to episode 324.
Oh, yes.
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the Doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator. I could retire and do that.
I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Hey, Doctor Who fans, welcome back to another week. This is the Big Blue Box podcast, episode 324.
Yeah.
It comes round quick, doesn't it? Hey.
Hey, Gary. How you doing?
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. What we reviewing, Gary?
As if you didn't know from that little clue.
Brilliant
there.
Impression.
Yes. We've got an American-themed review later. Yeah.
Yeah.
I say American-themed.
Sorry, American listeners.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, we apologise on behalf of some dreadful accents, it appears.
Yes.
So, yeah. Anyway, welcome back, everyone. Hope you've had a cracking week. Hope you've had a cracking week and that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related. Oh my God, Doctor. I hope you've done something Doctor Who related.
Sound like, it's not, it do sound like Sebby Sam.
Is
that it?
Yeah.
Something old
Yeah.
Warner Brothers cartoons, yeah.
Or are we from the deep
rabbit?
Or are we from the deep south? Who knows? What? Walking. Anyway, hope you've had a cracking week. And you listened to last week, obviously, because we're nearly at the end of Torchwood. So if you didn't listen to last week, we reviewed Fragments, which was actually, we thought that was a very, very good story, that one. So go and check that out. It was
good, yeah.
If you've not done it already. What did we give Fragments, dude? We gave it an 8.
8.
8 apiece, yeah. It was all good. So we haven't really got much news to speak of this week. We have got a bit of an event roundup. Adam's going to run down what he was up to at the BFI at the weekend, which sounds a lot less sinister than it sounds. Before we crack on, though, I just want to update everybody. So you may have seen on Twitter over the last few days, or the last week even, that one of the actresses that appeared in Doctor Who a while ago, she was her name is Tanya Fear, and she was in the Jodie episode. Forgotten.
Was it Arachnids?
Arachnids in the UK. Yes,
yeah, I think it was. I don't know.
That's correct. Yeah, she's a really good supporting cast member. Anyway, she's over in Los Angeles at the minute. She's doing, I think she's doing a couple of acting roles there. Plus, she's also trying to break into sort of stand-up comedy as well. So she's doing some gigs and stuff over there at the minute. But she quite worryingly went missing a few days ago. So nobody could get hold of her. Her phone wasn't working. She just vanished, essentially. So there was loads of tweets doing the rounds and so on. Anyway, you probably know, but just to fill you in, she has been found. She's all good. So we don't know the situation. We don't really want to know the situation, to be honest with you. But the police over there have said, for privacy reasons, we're not going to disclose where she's been or why she went missing for a few days. But all we need to know is she's safe and sound and everything's cool. So worry over. So she's been found. So that's all good.
That's a strange one, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, it's good to hear she's safe and well.
Yeah, that's good. So what did you get up to at the BFI then, dude?
So the BFI, mate, Evil of the Daleks screening, it was another great event. But the biggest thing I'm taking away from it is my relief at the animation. Because, I think we've spoken about some of the previous releases, which have been a bit hit and miss. And I've often said to you that, like, the earlier animations, like Invasion and Moonbase, I think are really good. And yet we seem to have gone we seem to be getting more adventurous with the animation, but actually taking a step back. Like, I think it was Fury from the Deep that I struggled with a little bit. And I don't know, the figures, the characters started to look like stick figures and stuff. And I was saying to you, the animation's not really doing it for me. I'm really pleased to say that because I was a bit worried. It's Evil of the Daleks is 7 episodes. I know they've always got a strict budget, and I know that the BBC, they're often under time constraints because the BBC don't give them a lot of time to get these animations done. So I was thinking, God, is this going to be 7 episodes of like a stick figure of the second Doctor walk across the screen, or is it going to be like Web of Fear? But a lot of people said that was dreadful. It wasn't that great. I'm really pleased to say and not just because I saw it on the big screen. It's not sort of rose-tinted glasses. The animation is a huge step up from what we've had before. They've really gone to town on it. They've used a lot of a few model shots, but then animated them. So there's like a lot of movement in the animation, which is, I think, the thing that has bugged me in previous animations. I think it's Fury that there was a lot of static shots. I always get confused between Fury and one of the other ones, but there was one of them that I just kept thinking, God, this is really, I'm struggling with this, because there's loads of shots of nothing happening on the screen, because it just looks like that they haven't got the animation to fill up what's going on. In this one, it really flows well. That, as I said, they've really upped their game. They had 3 of the animators on stage, or 3 of the people that worked on it anyway, on stage talking about it, and they said the BBC actually gave them longer on this, and it really shows. So I think they said they had a year, or maybe a year and a half. I can't remember what they said. I think it was a year, actually.
That's still not a lot, though.
No,
really.
It might have been a year and a half. Anyway, whatever it was, it's the longest time they've ever been given to do the animation, and it really shows. I genuinely wasn't bored at all for it, because we watched the whole 7 episodes. They showed us 4, then we had a little break, and Marquez come up on stage and talked about this, doing the audio work on it, and he does a great job, Marquez. And then we watched the following 3, and yeah, it's just, I'm honestly very impressed with it. I think it's by far the best recent release that we've had. So it was brilliant, and it's a story that, although I've listened to the audio, so I knew it was a kind of a good story, and weirdly, having watched Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks last night, I suddenly noticed there's a few comparisons there, like the Daleks sort of wanting the human factor and all that. And I thought, oh God, I've never really sort of put the 2 and 2 together, but having listened to it on audio, I've never sort of, there's none of the humor has come through. Whereas watching it animated, there were scenes where, and this is the lovely thing about being in a cinema watching these things, we were all laughing at the same moments, and the animation has really brought stuff to life. So on audio, I'm trying to think of an example, but so there's a bit where the Doctor's sort of riding around on one of the Daleks, and on the audio you sort of hear it and you kind of know what's going on. But with the animation, seeing the Doctor sort of wobbling around, going, no, and all that, it just seemed really funny, and just little scenes like that. So the animation's really brought this story to life. I'm very impressed with it. And I'm pleased to say that I genuinely was. I was looking forward to going, but I kept thinking, if it's, is it going to be 7? Is it going to be a slog? Is it going to be a slog to watch? And it wasn't at all. It was great. And obviously the meetup afterwards is good. Our roving reporter, Maria, was there.
Oh, Maz.
So she'll be, she managed to get a ticket and had a nice little drink for her in the bar afterwards. So We were there representing the Blue Box, and she'll be doing a full rundown of it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what Maria thought. I mean, we obviously chatted about it, so I know what she thinks, but yeah, she'll be doing a very in-depth write-up of the event, and that should be really good. So yeah, excellent, mate. Obviously, it comes out, I think, end of this month, and I think obviously there's always going to be someone that moans. That's just not too random, but I think the majority of people will be really pleased with this one. I don't think they'll be disappointed. It's a good story, and they've really put the work in. Yeah, it looked great. I just want to quickly give a quick shout out to one of our listeners as well. So Clive Lewis, who listens to us regularly, heard that I was moaning about the fact I couldn't get any of the B&M sets. He very kindly grabbed me 2 of the new B&M sets and gave them to me at the screening. So I was chuffed to bits with those. So thank you very much, Clive.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, nice one.
Yeah, again, it was just a really nice moment at the event. So thank you very much for that. So all in all, it was a cracking day. Absolutely cracking day.
That sounds really good, dude.
Yeah, it was good.
Your BFI, yeah. If you want to pick up either of the Daleks, as Adam said, it's out on the 27th of September. It's only a week or so away. And the standard DVD's 15 quid. The standard Blu-ray's just under 20 quid. Or if you want the Steelbook, that is on Amazon, it's 28.99. I think everywhere else it's 30 quid. So yeah, that's coming out in a couple of weeks. So yeah, I've got that pre-ordered, dude. That's going to be a good one to watch, methinks.
Yeah, I think you like it, mate. The Steelbook's lovely. I really like the artwork on the Steelbook of the big Emperor Dalek.
With the TARDIS in front of it and some other Daleks. Yeah, it looks really cool, actually. Very good. Yes.
Yeah. Whenever I leave those events, I just long for the next one. That's the only thing. It's such a good day out and seeing other Who fans and stuff. But they did say, we don't know what it is, but the guys on stage did say, well, we'll see you another one of these before the year's out. And we were like, whoa, everyone's in the audience. Whoa. So there's definitely another one coming.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's going to be whatever the next Blu-ray set is, which is heavily hinted to be Tom's season 17, I think. The one with City of Death and all that. So who knows? But who knows? But yeah, it's great if you can get tickets to those events.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to ask you what you thought the next event there is going to be. It's the thing with the anything from Poetry onwards. I'm not saying it's easy, but everything's available, isn't it? From Poetry onwards, pretty much.
Yeah.
All of the footage is there and everything like that. It's kind of a, I'm not going to sell those guys short. It's a lot of work to get those box sets out, but it's a real challenge to do any of the Hartnell and Troughton ones for obvious reasons. So if they put another Fourth Doctor one out, then that's probably expected because it gives them a bit more breathing room while they're still, I imagine they're still working on those early ones, because if they want to bring every single classic season out or series out, they're going to have to do them at some point. So I guess doing the ones where they've got all the footage there and just a bit of a clean up and stuff gives them a bit more breathing room. But yeah, that'd be awesome. And there's always a huge turnout, isn't there, for I know for Doctor Who in general anyway at the BFI, but for some reason the Tom ones, it always draws a lot of cosplayers. There's so many people dressed as Tom, and it's just so that'd be awesome actually if they do one of those for all the years out. I mean, I don't know, they'd have to step on it though, because we're halfway through September now.
I know, actually, it just suddenly dawned on me. This year is absolutely flying by. Actually, that's a good point. That hopefully that means we'll get an announcement soon. Yeah,
that'll be cool.
Yeah. Those events are always so popular as well. That's the only thing. Like anything, you have to be. Well, it's almost you have to be like a member to get tickets now. They sell out so quickly, and of course we don't even have the restrictions in anymore. So the place was full. Whereas the event I went to before this, what was it, Dragonfire? Well, it was when we still had restrictions. So every couple of seats were taken out. So you were spaced out, which halved the sort of capacity. But this one, there was none of that. It was full capacity, and it still sold out, I think, before it went on general sale. So these events have become really popular, and you can understand why. But it can be a bit frustrating if you don't get a ticket. But don't give up, because I mean, even the night before, they were releasing, they released a couple more tickets, so there's always a chance. It's just annoying. You have to keep constantly checking to see if there's any available. Yeah. But it's worth it. Honestly, it's such a good day out.
Yeah. And the management over at the BFI, we know you listen every week. It'd be awesome if you trickled a little bit more money into the old online, whatever system you use to handle your bookings, if you could change it out or upgrade it. There was a BFI got their asses kicked massively over the last 2 days.
Did they?
They had so many members just leave, because there's a big event that happens, London Film Festival.
Yeah.
Really big event. And their booking system just crashed, booted people out. Everybody missed out on tickets, and it was a disaster, mate. So,
I didn't hear about that.
There's like 1,000 thousands of tweets where everyone was like, I'm done with this. Every year it's the same, and your booking system's awful. We don't know what's happening with ticket. It's just awful, mate. So if you guys could just feed a little bit of money into whatever you use for your booking system, that'd be good. Yeah,
I only have. I mean, apart from the difficulty getting tickets, I only have one complaint about the BFI, and it's not really the BFI, I don't think, but it's their bar staff are incredibly rude. That's the only thing I've started saying. I think I'm going to, after the screening, we normally go to the lovely bar. They've got sort of a couple of nice bars in there, but this bar staff are so rude. I said, actually, I think I'm going to just go and find somewhere else to drink afterwards, because, they're just really grumpy. And they added service charge onto my drinks without even asking, I realised, after I'd paid, stuff like that. And I went back and said, oh, is that right? So I don't know. Quibbles aside, it's a lovely place to go, and the people who run the screenings are great. I don't know who runs the bars. I think it's a separate thing, but yeah.
Yeah. Overall, though, it's a very cool day. So.
Oh, it is. It's great. It's just cool to hang out with so many Who fans.
Yes. Yeah. And as always, we always say, if you can get tickets, if you've not been before and you sort of ummed and ahed and you're like, I'm not sure, just do it. Just book your ticket, get into London. It's a really, really cool day. Very, very cool. Yeah. And there's the two main elements that make it awesome. The first one is just there's something about watching classic Who in the cinema is just awesome. I think it's just the energy that's in there and watching it with everyone else. And then secondly, getting to hang out afterwards, catching up with people that you only talk to online or whatever. It's all good.
Exactly, mate. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Look forward to Maria's write-up. I bet she's scribbling away as we speak.
Yeah, she's hard work, old Maria. She has a really busy, hectic day job, and she still manages to write for us. So, yeah. Good old lass. Shouldn't say old. Good lass, Maria. Yeah, she's very nice.
Cool, you'll be getting a slap next time.
Yeah. Right, before we move on to our review, remember to follow our show, whatever podcast app you listen to your podcasts on. If you just discovered our show, awesome. Thank you for joining us. Welcome aboard the TARDIS. Make sure you follow us so you won't miss a show when it lands every single Friday. Those of you that have come back, the old grizzled ancients, welcome back. It's good to have you here. Head over to the website, which is www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our episodes over there as well. Listen to all of our stuff is free, by the way. There's nothing's behind a paywall or anything like that. You can listen to everything for free. On the website, there's also the really cool articles from our writing team. So check those out. We had a couple of reviews that landed this week. So go and check those out. We're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Links on the website. And we have a free Discord server as well. So go and sign up to that. Come and hang out and talk loads of different subjects about Doctor Who over there. Also, check out Adam's channel, my co-host over on YouTube. His name over there is The Geek's Handbag.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, The Geek's Handbag. Lots of Doctor Who vids. It's all Doctor Who merch, all the stuff I go out and spend money on. Go and have a look. I do reviews of it and stuff. So, yes, The Geek's Handbag.
Yes, go and check him out. Right, dude. What do we got for review? What do we got for review this week?
So this week it's the 10th Doctor two-parter, Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks.
Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today.
It's the depression, sweetie. Your heart might break, but the show goes on.
I want to be a part of it. New York, New York.
Men going missing, is this true?
They vanish into thin air. What the hell was that?
Doctor?
On yourselves! Come on!
Who are we working for?
Hands in the air and no funny business.
Where's Martha?
It's insane! It's inhuman!
They always survive when I lose everything.
These humans will become like me. Prepare them for hybridization.
Daleks are bad enough at any time, but right now they're vulnerable.
Take aim!
That makes them more dangerous than ever.
Exterminate!
Gotta get everyone out.
Hooverville's the lowest place a man can fall. There's nowhere else to go.
Whoa.
It's a creepy old trailer, isn't it?
Yeah, creepy one, that. Right. So the two-parter then, Daleks in Manhattan, Evolution of the Daleks. The first part was first broadcast back on the 21st of April, back in 2007. And then a week later, on the 28th of April, part 2 came out. It was written by Helen Rayner, directed by James Strong. Stars David Tennant and Freema Agyeman as the Doctor and Martha. And then a pretty sizable supporting cast. And the synopsis is, during the building of the Empire State Building in the 30s, New York City, the cult of Skaro continues their attempts to destroy humanity and reign supreme. As a new Dalek Empire rises, the 10th Doctor receives help from an unlikely ally. So, Adam, what do you think to this two-parter, dude?
It's so, it's so hard not to do impressions throughout this whole story, because the thing is, they do really stand out. Actually, I think it's one of the things that's just quite distracting in this two-parter is the dodgy American accents, and they're nearly as bad as ours. But no, overall, so I really like series 3. I think it's a good series, but this is a two-parter that never really stood out to me. Certainly not at the time. Anyway, when I watched it when it went out, I remember thinking it was good, and it kind of drifted along, but it's never one that I sort of gravitate towards to rewatch very often. So I was quite pleasantly surprised by this when I watched it last night. I wasn't really expecting to particularly like it. I thought it was just, I'd put it on. I thought, yeah, it's okay, this one, but I actually found myself getting quite drawn into the story. And while the accents are quite annoying, because they're not quite right, especially what's her name? The kid's toy. Hey, doctor. Especially her.
My god.
Oh my god. She becomes really annoying. But I think if I take that away, I actually quite like this story. It's grown on me on a rewatch. This one. I just think there's some good stuff going on, and I'd forgotten how good the Daleks are in it. They're actually quite scary and menacing in it. The slave pigs, I always, in my mind, think they're terrible. I remember sort of thinking, oh, they are so bad. But you know what? When I watched it again last night, I thought they're actually quite scary, and the makeup's pretty good. They're much better than I remember them being. I really haven't watched this two-part for quite some time as well. So I was looking at a lot of things, fresh in, with a fresh sense of eyes, if you like. I thought the cast were pretty good, accents aside. I thought Tennant was great. He really gives there's some good 10th Doctor moments in it, like when he's telling the Daleks to shoot him and finish him off and all that sort of stuff. And, he gets some good scenes, and Tennant gives sort of 10 out of 10, really goes for in those particular scenes. It looks pretty good. Some of the effects are a bit dated. I think the worst sort of culprit is probably the Daleks flying around. That doesn't look very good now, unfortunately. Some of the CGI is a bit dodgy, hasn't quite stood the test of time. But overall, just to sort of sum up, I think it's a quite a good two-parter. It has got its faults, but at the end of the day, I found it a good watch. I just enjoyed it, or despite any sort of little niggles I had with it. It was definitely better than I remembered. And it's gone up in my estimations a little bit. And I love it when that happens. I really like it when I go back and see a story that I didn't particularly grab me at the time, and then I see something in it that sort of makes you think, actually, this is pretty good. Overall, I thought it was quite a good one. I quite enjoyed this one. I like the whole idea of it. May not have quite pulled it quite off, but I thought it was a good story. Yeah, from Helen Rayner. Yeah. So it's a thumbs up. It's not a classic, but I liked it. What do you reckon, Gary? What do you reckon, Gary? I'll stop now, sorry.
Oh, dear.
Oh, no. Because you love the 10th Doctor. Surely we haven't found one you don't like.
Don't like this one, mate.
Oh no!
No.
Boom! Crash!
I will admit though, I have wobbled a lot on this one. I think I've seen this maybe over the years. I've probably seen this around. This is probably the 5th time I've watched it, maybe 4th or 5th time. It's really weird.
You watched it more than me.
Yeah, every time I watch it, I kind of go from one side of the pitch to the other. Like sometimes I watch it and I'm like, it's actually. I know it's not. This doesn't matter anyway, but it doesn't appear very high on anyone's list, and I can understand why. But I still like it, and then I watch it again, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty bad. And then watch it, flip between it. But when I rewatched this, I watched this yesterday, both parts back to back, and yeah, dude, I just. It's almost like it's trying really hard to do something interesting with the Daleks and stuff. And don't get me wrong, I really love the whole the cult of Skaro. I love that idea, that concept. The ordinary Daleks that were plucked out of their normal run, and they were given this task of thinking differently to try and think like their enemies do, and just have this kind of top secret sort of band of Daleks. It's got that really cool. It's got a coolness to it, which I love. And it's just, for me personally, it just gets ruined. Like their whole, like they should be this, and they are for the most part, this kind of really cool, almost renegade kind of mythic kind of band. Like in terms of the Doctor's point of view, anyway, he just thought that the cult of Skaro was a myth. He didn't believe that there was these actual Daleks that were doing this stuff, and this story sort of takes away their credibility, if you like, because for one, they just get defeated way too easy. Like a walk in the park, a walk in Central Park for the Doctor and the other dudes. And also, it's just the realization. So, when Dalek Sec decides to experiment on himself,
yeah,
and he becomes the hybrid human Dalek dude.
Is it Sausage Head? Yeah.
Sausage, yeah. The other Daleks, so Dalek Khan and whoever, they recognise that something's not right. They can immediately tell that, he's too soft, he's too forgiving, he's got too much human, but it all happens just too late in the story, I think is the point I'm trying to make. So we have all this sort of fluffing around with the pig people legging around and the Hooverville thing in Central Park and that stuff. And it's to me, that's all it is. It's just fluff. It's just kind of stuff that's happening of no real consequence. And it's not until as we get into sort of halfway into part 2, which by then the story's nearly done, that then the Daleks kind of get interesting, and the three of them kind of realise that actually our leader's just, he's blown it, sort of thing. He's, it's gone. And there's a couple of good bits, like when they kill him, and the Doctor's like, he's outraged. He's like, how could you, the one sort of person that could have led the Daleks to a better place, sort of thing. So but that all happens in the last 15 minutes. Up until that point, we've had a whole 50, 60 minutes at that point. And so for me, dude, the first 2/3 of both parts are just nothing's really happening. That's the point for me. It's just a little bit of to-in and throw-in, a bit of exploring, what's going on with and then the last sort of third, it really picks up, but then by the time it's picked up and it gets interesting, the story's then done. And you think, okay, that should have happened. Like, that stuff should have happened at the beginning of part 2. The cliffhanger should have been Dalek Sec being killed. That should have been the cliffhanger to part 1. And then the second part is the big showdown. How are they going to defeat the Daleks who are now back to their original, well, not original, but they're back to their right. We've got rid of the dude that's gone soft. Now we're going to sort of carry on with the plan, and how do they defeat those three? So, hope I'm making sense. It just climaxes too late, and by that point, I was just swiping through Instagram. By that point,
you'd lost interest. Yeah. I was going to say, actually, I do hear you. I think that's the thing. The whole of part 1 is all designed just for the build up to the cliffhanger, isn't it? That's all that. That's all that part 1's really doing, isn't it? It's just building up to that cliffhanger. The reveal, human Dalek sec or whatever. Yeah, I do get what sausage head. I do understand what you're saying, because I think this is how I felt. I think I felt like you're feeling the first time I watched this, which is why I wasn't expecting to like it particularly. I think this is exactly how I felt. It was just a lot of. I remember thinking it was slow when this aired back in 2007. I remember it didn't grip me at all. This story, I was sort of watching it, but like you said, there was a lot of fluff, a lot of just wandering around. So that's why I wasn't expecting to sort of enjoy it as much as I did when I rewatched it last night. But what's interesting is the way you said you flip between liking it and not liking it. Because although I enjoyed it a lot actually last night, I have a feeling that if I was to watch it again in a couple of weeks, I may find myself feeling like you and being a bit bored, because I think one of the reasons I enjoyed this as much as I did last night is because I haven't watched it in so long that I kind of, and I've said this before, when we do a review, I kind of force myself to really watch the story. Like if I'm just watching something for pleasure, most of the time I will have watched this, whatever episode I'm watching a few times. So I don't really need to sit there and intently watch it and try and understand every little thing that's going on, because I've seen it loads of times and I'm just watching it for enjoyment, and I'll be on my phone and I know what's coming up anyway. So I don't really need to watch the screen. When we're doing a review, I do tend to sort of, really try and get into the story, try and understand it and watch it. And I think it does make a difference, because I sort of pick up on things that I haven't picked up on before. But again, I have a feeling that that's one of the reasons I enjoyed this, because I haven't seen it in so long. And I did sort of watch it properly and I thought, oh, okay, yeah, it's not as bad as I remembered. But if I was to just put it on again in a couple of weeks for pleasure, I might find myself getting bored. So I think I get where you're coming from in that sense. It is one of those stories where it is a bit ploddy. It doesn't really hold together too well, but it's got nice moments and it's got nice ideas. And I think if to sort of put it in this sense, I think if you're in the right mood for it, it's quite a good watch. But maybe that's the thing. It's just because it's not great, but it has got good moments. I think it's one of those stories, isn't it? If you're in the right mood, you'll probably quite like this one, and you'll probably find the accents funny, and you can go along with it. But yeah, it's not one you're going to say, oh, this is a cracking two-parter, you got to watch this, wait till this bit happens. And, oh, Matt, do you remember that bit? It's not one of those stories, is it? I think it's a fine watch, but yeah, it is missing that little spark. So I do understand where you're coming from.
It's a fan watch.
It's a fan.
Mr. Darkly. Yeah, it's one of those ones we have on in the background if like you're doing some housework, you're moseying around and you've just put the box set on, or you've got iPlayer on and you've got it on, automatically play the next story and it comes on. It's not one of those stories where you'll stop everything, sit down to watch it. It will just be on in the background as you're doing the ironing or whatever it is you're doing. So yeah, that's, to me, it's one of those background stories for me. I wouldn't stop what I'm doing. Like I've got to go, Daleks in Manhattan's just come on, I'll call you. It's not one of those type of stories, but it's not terrible, don't get me wrong. It's not It's not bad. It's not a terrible story at all. It's just my personal enjoyment of it is just, I just can't get into it because I feel like they missed an opportunity to really hammer home the Dalek thing. Because we have to remember that this is the first time in the new series that the word or the planet Skaro has been mentioned at all.
Is it? Oh, right. Okay. Didn't know that.
Yeah. So the last time that we heard a mention of the words of the planet Skaro was the TV movie. That's the last time. So it's the first time that we've heard Skaro, the first time that we've seen these, the cult of Skaro pop up. I think it's the first time we've seen them. Is it the first time?
I think it
must
is,
be.
yeah.
Yeah, it must be, yeah. And, and it's also a bit of a double-edged sword because Stephen Moffat was meant to write this.
Was he?
Yeah. So this was meant to be a Moff story.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And he had to pull out because at the time he was writing, I didn't see it, but he was writing a show called Jekyll. Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with, I've forgotten. Yes, I haven't seen it, but I know this series, yeah.
Yeah. So he said, look, I can't do it because I'm full up, doing this Jekyll program. So instead he said, but, in an X amount number of months or whatever, I'll be free. I can write you a a simple story then, and that story ended up being Blink.
Oh, right.
So it's a double-edged sword, because I think if the Moth had written this one, it might have, is nothing to take away from Helen Rayner. Helen Rayner, it's like I said, it's not a terrible story, but we might have got something a little bit more Moffat, if that makes sense, quote unquote, a bit more Moffat. But if we'd have got a better story here, we wouldn't have got Blink. So, it's a bit of a swings and roundabouts thing, but
God, it probably would have been like going back and forth from 1930s to present day to Gallagher. Oh, who knows what the Moffat would have done? I reckon it would have been timey-wimey.
Yeah, for sure.
Imagine. What do you think of the Cult of Skaro thing, though? Do you like that idea? Because I quite like this idea of these sort of Daleks. They've almost got personalities, haven't they? The reason I like it is because it makes the Daleks quite intelligent. I think they're actually quite, and by them being intelligent makes them quite sinister, because there's no sort of, like sometimes when they throw a blanket over it and it can't see it and it just just wobbles around, and you're like, oh, Daleks are rubbish. These Daleks, I think, are quite scary because they're not idiots. They know what's going on, and I think they're quite sinister in this. So I quite like it. I like the one that's got the battle damage. Is that Dalek Thay?
Thay, yeah.
He's got the battle damage. I like that one. Mm-hmm. So I quite like this idea.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love the idea, mate. I think it's one of the really, because the Daleks are very, very cool. Let's not argue on that point. The Daleks are very cool, obviously very prominent baddie within the world of Doctor Who, and sometimes they can feel a little bit like stormtroopers, though, from Star Wars, where you just see hundreds and thousands upon thousands of them, and there's only a couple that really stand out, whether that might be Davros in some respect, or it might be the Emperor Dalek in some stories, or whatever it might be. So I love it when there's either a singular Dalek, which is why the Eccleston story Dalek is so strong. Is because it's not dealing with a fleet of Daleks, and you just have the usual echo of exterminate throughout the skies, and and that's it. You're dealing with a singular thing. So the Cult of Skaro, these small band of dudes, it's a very, very cool concept, and like you said, it's almost like they've got their own individual personalities, and they're they've been tasked with developing sort of unorthodox ideas and strategies so that they can report back, and the rest of the Dalek army or fleet can then conquer whatever it is they're doing. And we do get some, so we do see one of them again, don't we? So we see Dalek Khan. He pops up at the end of, he pops up in Stolen Earth / Journey's End, doesn't he, with Davros? He's the one that, sort of peered into mad. So at the Time War, or the last great Time War, as they talk about it, he rescued Davros from the Time War. But as he was rescuing Davros, he what was he, look into the time vortex or something like that? So it turns him a bit doolally. So we do see him. We do see one of them pop up again. But that must be, in terms of timey-wiminess, that must be, this story must have taken place after Journey's End.
Oh, yeah. It's a bit of a brain melt, that.
Because at the end of this story, after they've killed Dalek Sec, and the Doctor loses his beep because they assassinated one of their own, there's that huge shootout at the end, isn't there, between the hybrid humans, and those guys. They all get wiped out.
Yeah.
So, a bit timey-wiminess. But to answer your question, the Cult of Skaro, I think, is a great idea. I really like it. Which is why I find this story a bit frustrating, because the build-up is not huge, because the guy that's running the building site for the Empire State Building, the one that ends up being the hybrid Dalek set.
Yeah.
He does reveal them relatively early on. I think the foreman, he's like, why are we doing this? We're on schedule and stuff like that. He's like, we need it quicker. And he's like, well, you'll have to answer to the big boss sort of thing. And he comes out the lift and everything. So that's not too bad. But it's frustrating because they didn't do more with that early on. So, but I do like the whole Cult of Skaro thing. Yeah.
What do you think to old Dalek Set when he turns into the Dalek hybrid? Because I remember, I think that's one of the things I didn't like the first time I watched this. I was like, what is that? And it cracks me up that he's still wearing his suit. It's like comes out in this immaculate suit. Well, actually, it's not immaculate, but he comes out in this suit. It actually worked better for me on a rewatch last night. I kind of liked it to an extent. Because I did feel a bit sorry for him when he's trying to do his best. And then they drag him out on stage, and he's like their pet. He's just, he's gone from being, the ultimate Dalek sect leader to this poor old, almost like a scavenger dog that they're just, So I don't know. It works better for me on a rewatch, but I remember not liking the Dalek hybrid thing at all when this first went out. I think the Radio Times, if I remember rightly, completely ruined the surprise, because I think they put a picture of him, if I'm remembering right. I think they put a picture of Dalek hybrid on the front cover before the episode went out.
They ruined it.
They ruined the cliffhanger. I think I'm right in saying that. Anyway, that's how I remember it. Yeah. Yep. But what do you think of that thing? Because I don't know, the look of it and the suit and the sausage sort of legs, whatever they are. It's a bit weird. I don't know. But as I said, it worked better last night when I rewatched it. But I don't know. Not sure about that. I like the idea of it, but I'm not sure about the realization.
Yeah, it's not executed very well, is it? The design's not great, because it just I guess there's two ways they could go with that. One way would be to make him look really scary looking, which probably would have suited the story better. The other way, which I think they went with, to make him look a bit more approachable, a bit more friendly, because of his personality now, where he wants to save life, it seems, and preserve rather than destroy. I think the look, kind of from a visual point of view, is in that direction as well. So he just looks really funny. That's the problem. He just looks really comical, like this singular eye, and the way they've done the prosthetics around his mouth and stuff. He just constantly looks like he's grinning. Even though he's not, he's just talking normally. The way the makeup's been done, he's looked like the Joker from Batman, sort of this big grin kind of thing, and these weird sausage, like you said, the little tentacle things that look like little sausages. Yeah, so it's not the best. It's just not the best execution of what that could have looked like. He could have been a bit more of a disfigured. So even though the experiment was a success in that the two beings became one thing, it could have been a bit rough around the edges. Where this is the first one. The first pancake is always the test one. It's the best way to put it. So he could have been a bit rough around the edges, and maybe his eye was a bit slopey, and his head was a weird shape, and some of the tentacles were longer than others, and he was just a bit he was just a bit too clean cut and perfect for the first one. But not bad, but it just looks more comical than it does the intent, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that would have been much better if they'd have made him look a bit more thing. But I think what they're going for, because we're supposed to feel sorry for him at the end, aren't we? Really, it's like we see in him what the Doctor sees, that he's there's actually a spark of hope for the Daleks in Dalek hybrid sec. So I think they're trying to make him sort of a cross between being scary and also likable, I reckon. But I know what you mean. I don't think they quite pulled it off. But I think that's why he looks like he does. He's sort of supposed to be scary, but not scary enough to be unloved.
Yes.
Like, the face that only a mother could love, sort of thing. So
yeah. I do feel sorry for him at the end, though. He's like you said, when he gets like paraded out in the chains and stuff, and the Doctor's sort of come round a bit as well. At first he was a bit, this is an abomination kind of thing. What have you done? And then by the end, he's like, actually, this dude's probably got his head on a bit straighter than the other Daleks. He's got that sort of the human side of him has got a contribution into his plan, not just the Dalek side. So I think the crux of it is that the Daleks wanted to improve themselves for longevity. They can't just survive as the four of them. So they just want to, turn the rest of the planet into hybrids and stuff. The hybridization process, I think, is what they call it.
That's the other bit, actually, that I think they could have built up a bit more. Like you were saying about how nothing really happens in part 1, and then part 2 kind of we have that quick wrap up. This whole thing about all these humans or whatever that they've got hanging above the ceiling, they could have sort of built that, because it only really comes into it right at the end. We suddenly see them lowered down, and maybe I missed it, but I didn't even realize they'd got all that stuff up there. Like it's like, oh yeah, by the way, we've got all these humans, and they're just kind of empty carcasses waiting to be filled. And oh right, but I didn't really I didn't really get that till right at the end. Like I thought the Doctor could have at least looked up and thought, hang on, what are all these? What's up here in part 1? Because he's been in that room a few times, hasn't he?
Oh yeah.
He doesn't notice all the millions of beds hanging above the ceiling. So I think that part of the story could have been built up a little bit.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that was a bit of a late reveal, wasn't it? It was.
It just seemed a bit of an afterthought, that.
Yeah. But that goes back to what I was saying about stuff I feel like stuff should have been, like part 1 for me feels very ploddy. And feels like it's probably intentionally a setup to what's going to happen in part 2.
Yeah.
It's like, let's lay the story foundations, and then in part 2 we'll all hell break loose. But I do feel like they should have revealed some of that stuff earlier and built up to a much bigger cliffhanger at the end of part 1. And then it would have been the all out, maybe do a bit of the old classic Who in part 2, a bit of the old escape and capture.
Yeah,
that would have been cool. Yeah.
The thing is, we're in series 3 now, and Doctor Who's kind of at this time, 2007, we're kind of peak Doctor Who. Tennant's really popular. It's on a high at this point, and it's probably got a fairly good budget for the time. Did you feel like they managed to encapsulate? Did it feel like they were in New York to you? Because apart from a few establishing shots and they do quite a good job of when the Doctor and Martha first land. I mean, they've mixed 2 shots together there. I think they get away with it. I didn't really think anything of it at first. It's only really when you see the Doctor and Martha looking towards sort of New York, you think, oh, well, they're clearly not there, which they weren't. I mean, they never got to go to New York. So most of this is sort of set in a park, and we do get some establishing shots of New York, but it didn't really feel like we're in 1930s New York to me, apart from the dodgy accents. So they keep it very contained. It's mostly in the sewers. We don't, we see a couple of high shots of New York, of Manhattan, sorry. So yeah, but did it feel like they'd managed to do that on the budget, or did it still feel like it was a park in Cardiff with a few tents in it?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I was bought into that. Just because those establishing shots were it's not dated incredibly well, but you can kind of see, what they were going for. And the effect was quite good of the Empire State Building having all the scaffolding around it. It's not finished yet. And they've obviously removed, other than the Chrysler Building, all of the other big skyscrapers. So it does look like sort of old school New York and stuff. But they just weren't, they weren't blessed with sort of a bit of extra money and location and stuff, because if we think to what's the story, the Angels Take Manhattan, with Rory and Amy, they're actually sitting in Central Park, and you can tell, especially if you've been to Central Park, you can tell immediately that that's not a set or green screen. They're actually there and doing that stuff. So I was kind of, they did do some location stuff in New York. They were there. But it just wasn't really, maybe it's just a production limitation at the time, I'm not sure. It just didn't really feel like it. You absolutely felt like, okay, most of it was Cardiff, most of it was a set, the odd little bit was New York. So it was done fairly well. I bought into it from that perspective. Establishing shots were fairly decent. Yeah, what about you?
Yeah, no, yes and no, really. I don't know. I thought the budget constraints showed a little bit. As I said, I don't think some bits have dated that particularly well. But I think overall, it worked. I think the theatre setting helps because just the style of it and the music and everything. I liked all that stuff. I think it's better just to try and stay away from doing all the sort of CGI shots and just stick to those bits which sell the idea that they're in that time zone rather than trying to show it physically. So yeah, I bought into it enough to it not bother me. I think.
That song appears again, doesn't it, at the end of, the end of time.
Oh yeah.
When Jack goes into the bar.
Before.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's called An Angel Put the Devil in Me or something.
That's it.
Something like that,
Yeah, I think Murray was having fun with this one. I think Murray enjoyed the music was good. I think Murray enjoyed putting that sort of 1930s slant on it.
Yeah, and it suits Captain Jack's character perfectly, that song as well. That was a stroke of genius, writing it for the scene where Tallulah's on stage and she's doing that song and stuff. It works well with this. It's kind of that old jazzy, bluesy kind of number.
Yeah.
But then reusing it later on for Jack in that bar, that was genius because that fits really well. And you're right, Murray Gold did have a... But this is when Who was had that big kind of combination of various themes and motifs for individual characters mixed in with some of those big bombastic moments of... this was before the whole I Am the Doctor theme running away all the time, which is good in itself, but this was more the combination of those things.
The Dalek theme's good, isn't it?
It's awesome.
That's that choral bit, not the I don't know what
bomb bomb bomb. Not that one.
That bit.
No,
it's like when it's all kicking off. There's like this choral. I don't know. I can't do it, but it's a really good theme, and it really it does send a bit of a shiver down your spine. I mean, some of the themes that Murray comes up with in this. There's also I loved the scene when the Doctor saves poor old Laszlo as well. Because I thought Laszlo died. I was convinced. I thought, oh, poor old Laszlo, he's going to die in a minute. And there's a bit at the end there, isn't he, where the Doctor's like, no one else dies. He's doing this shouty thing. No one else dies today. He's like, the Doctor is in and all this. And there's a great sort of musical thing going on behind that scene. And it really, for me, again, it was one of those moments I think I've just totally overlooked up to now. But I loved that scene when he saves Laszlo. And it's like, to me, that's Tennant just being on fire, just like really into the moment. He's not going to die again. Because I was starting to feel sorry for him because it's like Laszlo's dying, but the Doctor's way too busy to help him at the end, isn't he? He's like, not now. Sorry, guys. I've got to save, I've got to defeat the Daleks. So I have to worry about Laszlo later. And I thought, poor old Laszlo. But then the Doctor does... when he gets a chance, does save him, doesn't he? Which I just thought it was a really nice scene. I loved all that. Yeah. I was getting worried about Martha because I really like Martha as a character. But coming back to what you were saying about part one, where it's a bit ploddy, I was thinking to myself, Martha's not being given a lot to do in this story. She's starting to look a bit bored. She's like, she's chatting to a few of the villagers in Hooverville. She's chatting to Tallulah about her relationship woes, which, again, is a bit boring. So I was getting a bit worried that Martha was, given very little to do. But then the second part, she does come into her own, thank goodness, when she works out how she's going to defeat the pigmen coming up by using the electricity that's about to strike. I was like, oh, that's good. So she does actually come good in the end. And I'm glad they gave her something to do. But yeah, I was beginning to think she was being a bit wasted in this story for the first half, to be honest. And also, the Doctor just leaves her to get savage. Thank God she's got a brain on her. Because I think Martha's a great companion, very underrated, I think. So, yeah, but I did think, the Doctor has just left her to be... He's like, well, you're going to have to fight.
Yeah,
she would have got torn to pieces, wouldn't she, if she hadn't just suddenly realised that, hang on a minute, I can do this and electrocute them all. So, yeah. But for the first part, she gets very little to do. And there is a couple of scenes where she's, she's telling Tallulah about her love for the Doctor and all that. So anybody who doesn't like that particular part of Series 3 is going to be groaning, because there's a couple of scenes, not just one. I think there's two scenes where she's really sort of fawning over the Doctor, isn't there? Oh, he doesn't notice me. And sometimes I think he lost his companion and he looks at me, but he's seeing her. And there's a couple of scenes like that. And I thought, I don't mind it, but I know a lot of people just hate that side of the Martha Doctor companionship. And I think they would have been really groaning at some of those scenes, which I do get. I mean, you do feel like saying, come on, pull yourself together. But yeah.
No, I read you, dude. Yeah, normally, because Martha's a really good character. We're fans of Martha on the show. And
I just don't think it's her best story. It's not her best.
Exactly that. Yeah, it's she's had better stories. She does pick
Yeah.
up a bit for her, like you said in the second part. But talking of the electricity stuff, what do you think of the scene where the Doctor's up on the spire and he gets struck by lightning and stuff? Because that adds to the twist at the end, doesn't it? Where all of those people that the Daleks think are now just their intentions are 100% Dalek. They're just in human bodies. The Doctor reveals that because he was in between the process, if you like, some Time Lord DNA had trickled through, and just enough bit of Time Lord DNA, just enough.
Yeah.
Didn't like that, dude.
You didn't like it?
No.
Oh, okay. How come?
Because it wasn't dark enough for me. For me, yeah, I think.
What do you mean?
What I mean is, it should have just been
murder.
It should have just been a massacre, right? It should have just been a problem with the experiment. It should have just been something's gone awry with the experiment. The DNA, the amount of human versus Dalek DNA, whatever it is unbalanced. The humans, these dudes, they're just going completely berserk. They don't know what's right or wrong. They certainly don't see the Daleks as their leaders, but the Daleks view them as their slaves, kind of thing. And all hell just breaks loose, and the Doctor just leaves them to massacre themselves. This whole thing about the Doctor being struck by the lightning, so his DNA is in those people, but it's because it's the Doctor, just the right amount of DNA, like he can control how much lightning striking him at any one point, and I just found that part of it. I like the twist. Don't get me wrong, the idea of having that twist, but that just felt like a step too far for me. Just a tad.
I must admit, it didn't bother me at the time, but now you said that, I'm thinking actually it is a bit stupid. No, I didn't. I'll be honest, I didn't think it when I watched it last night. I actually thought, oh yeah, I get that's good. I actually, like you, I liked the twist because I couldn't work out why they had suddenly turned, and then when he reveals that it's because he got struck in a bit, I thought, oh right, okay, so that explains that away. So it didn't bother me. But yeah, now you say it like that, it is a bit.
Well, no, don't take away your enjoyment of it.
But it's convenient, isn't it? I know what you mean. It is part of the quick wrap up that we get, because I do like the last sort of 10 minutes of this. I think it really starts to kick in to gear. You got all the Martha and the pig slaves, and there's a good threat. And I really love the stuff in the theatre with the Daleks on the stage and the Doctors having a good old face off with them. And you got these strange sort of humanoid people with Dalek guns. I thought, some good stuff kicking off and whatever. But it is, I suppose, the fact it gets wrapped up pretty quickly. I really hate the way that Dalek Khan, just teleports away as well. I thought that again was a bit lazy. I mean, I like the fact he escapes, don't get me wrong, but he just teleports off. Well, why didn't the other two Daleks do that if it's that easy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a quick wrap up. I totally get what you mean, but again, it didn't bother me too much watching it last night.
Oh, okay. No, it was more just the convenience.
Yeah, I get
factor for me. It was like one of those. Oh, if only this would have happened, that would have solved the problem. Well, funny you mention that. That's exactly what I've done. Like, if only we had a hammer for this nail. Well, here's a hammer for you.
And also the bit with the Sonic, I mean, it's a really silly thing to pick up on, but the Doctor drops the Sonic over the edge of the building, and Martha just brings it back up. I'm like, well, what? Where did that land? Like, it falls all the way down, and she's like, oh, by the way, we found your Sonic. You know what I mean? So it's convenience, but again, it's not something. Oh, if you don't look into it too much,
exactly.
It won't bother you. Yeah. But it's just oh, here's your Sonic you dropped. So yeah.
Let's talk characters, dude. I think we've gone through the story stuff enough.
Yeah.
Actually, no, before we get to characters, I know we touched on look and feel. Look and feel wise, it wasn't too bad.
No, it's all right.
Like the establishing stuff was good. If the pace was not too bad, it had a decent mix of a few action scenes, but it was also, like you said at the beginning, actually, there were some nice moments where there was the Doctor and Martha having a chat, or the Doctor, Martha and Tallulah, some nice little moments throughout, which provided a nice mix of slowing the pace down to have those bits, but then picking back up when a bunch of pigs turned up or whatever, or, it was all kicking off again and then it slowed down. So that was kind of cool. The editing, the production was quite good. It's just
Direction?
that CG, just you can tell it's back in, sort of mid 2000s. Yeah.
Direction good?
Direction, not too bad, I would say. Not too bad.
Yeah, I think it was decent. I think he's tried to throw in some good sweeping shots. He really tries to keep the Dalek scenes interesting. I noticed that because I think the set, again, I don't know if it's a bit the budget thing, the Dalek set looks a bit, cobbled together, which I know it's meant to be, but it just, you can just tell that's in a basement in probably some building in Cardiff where they've put up these funny, they look like big bee hives, don't they, behind them and stuff. But yeah, he keeps the camera moving a lot, which I like, which, when there are sort of plodding scenes, you kind of need that.
Yeah.
So I think he did a decent job. Just quickly going back to one of the scenes though, mate, you were saying there about certain scenes. I love the bit when the Doctor's, is like a little quiet moment where he's examining the thing that he's found in the sewers, the Dalek experimentation blob.
The disgusting little brainy blob thing.
Yeah, the blob looks like a jellyfish. And I love that scene when he's got the code, isn't he? He's like, oh, I know that. Why do I know that? And that's one of those. It's just one of those moments where I love David's Doctor, is that he feels so much like the Doctor in those scenes. The fact he's being the sort of the clever side of him, examining it, and then he remembers, doesn't he? He's like, that's Skaro, and then it's like, oh, OMG moment. And yeah, those scenes I just think are great.
That's cool, actually. Yeah. And you can tell this is a James Strong episode because there's a couple of others that look really similar in their direction. So Partners in Crime.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's got a very similar feel in terms of how it looks visually. And Voyage of the Damned. So those three in a block. So this two-parter, Voyage of the Damned and Partners in Crime. He did go on to do Planet of the Dead as well, but that has got a different feel to it, in my opinion. But these three, they all have a very similar feel as you're watching them. But not too bad at all.
Yeah.
What do you think to Tallulah, then played by Miranda Rayson?
Well, I totally get what she's going for. I just found her a bit annoying, really. It's probably more the way she's written, though. It's not really the performance I don't like. I think she was quite good in the part, but it's just the character is a bit annoying. But then the Doctor gets annoyed with her as well. Like when she wants to follow him, he's like, I said no, go get back up. You're not coming with me, sort of thing. Yeah, I don't dislike her. I kind of buy into the whole Tallulah Laszlo thing, just enough to care. Yeah, I think it was an all right performance, but yeah, the character does get a bit annoying. It's more the voice than anything, though. I like the bit where she's got the gun and the Doctor's like, can we put that away now? And she just laughs, says, oh, it's all right. So it's just a toy anyway. And, there are a couple of good scenes, but I feel like there should have been more chemistry between Tallulah and Martha, though, because we get a couple of scenes where they have to work together and when they have these nice little sort of girly chats. And I thought, they could have built up that relationship to be quite sweet, but it feels very wooden, really. There's not really much between them, is there?
No, Rija. Yeah. She's a really talented voice actor, though. So it's surprising that the accent doesn't ring a bit truer. Because she's done so many voiceovers for TV and video games and documentaries and all sorts. Yeah, she's really good voice actor as well as an actress on screen. So, but yeah, it's just the accent, isn't it? Yeah, it's just a bit. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, I agree with you, dude. Yeah, it's as a performance, it's okay, but it's just the accent that just pierces your brain, makes it rattle, and you're just like, oh God.
I'm glad she's not in it any more than she is. Let's put it that way. I think she's in it just enough not to get excruciating.
Yeah. From one terrible accent to another. Laszlo, then, played by Ryan Carnes.
Poor old Laszlo. I don't mind him, actually. Yeah, I know. Accent aside, I thought it was a nice performance from him. I think acting-wise it was all right because he's got that blimmin' pig nose on for most of the story. And the teeth as well. It looks really uncomfortable, the prosthetics. I don't know if they were, but they certainly look it. The big teeth he's got at the front sticking out. Horrible. I kind of felt sorry for Laszlo, to be honest, but I thought the performance was all right. But yeah, it's just the accent, isn't it? Once again, it's just so off-putting.
Yeah. Oh dear. So we had a very So I was very surprised when I first saw this. So this one, so the character Frank, the young lad who knocks around with the, we'll come on to that character in a second, the guy that's kind of running the Hooverville area, played by a fairly young Andrew Garfield, who went on obviously to be Spider-Man, which is a crazy career progression from this. I don't think it was that long after, was it? So this was 2007, and then Spider-Man was 2012. So it was only a few years. Yeah, so he jumped up pretty swiftly. Yeah, so what do you think to Frank then? So his accent was slightly different. He had a southern accent rather than a New York typical accent, but it was okay actually. I didn't mind Andrew Garfield on this one. He was pretty good.
Yeah, he is good. I think the problem is I often forget he's in it. So it's always like when he pops up on screen, I'm like, oh, it's Spider-Man. It's Andrew Garfield. So it doesn't stand out, I don't think. That's the problem. The character, I mean. There's nothing wrong with his performance. His accent, probably better than some of them in it. But the character of Frank, again, I think could have been written up. And again, you feel like there could have been more between him and Martha. Like there could have been some good scenes between those two. I feel he's a bit wasted as a character, Frank. Because I feel like there's potential there, not just because it's Andrew Garfield, and we know he's a great actor, but yeah, I just wish we'd had a bit more from the character of Frank. But I think Andrew Garfield does great with what he's given. I think he's good in the scenes he does, and his accent's passable. Yeah, I mean, when he's Spider-Man, he's got to do the American accent, hasn't he? Not Southern, obviously. But
not Southern, yeah. I mean, he does that really well in Spider-Man, I must admit.
He does, yeah.
Yes. Yep.
But he was all right. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's always just good to see him. I love it when he pops up. Yeah. Spidey.
Spidey, that's it. Yeah. Okay, so there was another character called Solomon, which was played by Hugh Quashie.
Yeah, now I recognise him from lots of things.
Loads of things, yeah. He's very, very established TV actor. He's been around since the 70s, really.
Oh, he was in Red Dwarf, mate, your favourite.
Yeah, he was funny in that episode, actually, yeah. So... what do you think to him then? Another American accent, not too bad that one actually. Kind of bought into that one.
I thought he was one of the better of the sort of supporting cast, if you like. I felt like he was really into the script in terms of his performance. You know what I mean? I felt like he was very much into the story. I thought he gave a good performance, and his accent again wasn't too bad. And I think he takes what he's got on the page, and I think he really sort of went for it. So I thought he was good. I liked him in it, and I liked the character. I felt quite sad when he gets killed in episode 2. I was like, no, not Solomon. So again, it showed that I cared about the character. Decent performance from him, I thought. Yeah,
decent. Yeah, and in terms, he's only done a few films, but his best film role was.
Film
Captain Panaka, Star Wars: The Phantom Menace.
Oh right, okay,
alongside the Princess Amidala. Yes. Yeah, so
he's just one of those faces you recognise, don't you? You think, oh, I know him from other stuff. Yeah, he was good. Yeah,
he was good. Yeah. And then what about the guy when he's not a Dalek? So the dude that's the kind of businessman, bit of a mob guy.
Yeah.
Mr. Diagoras, I think his name was, played by Eric Lauren. Another accent, which not the worst one in the story, but not the best. Kind of gets away with it just about. But Eric Lowen as the guy pre-Dalek Sec hybrid.
I thought he was all right as the humanoid, like before he gets transformed. He is very close to being, I mean, he's a little bit over the top, isn't he? He's really close to being like pantomime villain. He's like, get down there and see the but I don't think he was too bad. I mean, it was just on the edge for me of being a good performance to slightly going over the top. It was good enough to sort of think it worked. And I think he's quite good as hybrid Sec, because he sort of plays. There is a real noticeable change in the character. He's not sort of playing it. Well, obviously it's got to be, but he manages to sort of tone it down enough to be like this strange Dalek hybrid. So I think he was all right. Just there's a little bit hammy in the beginning, but I think the part kind of I think that's kind of what they were asking him to be, if you know what I mean. I think he's just playing what they've written on the page. So, yeah, I thought he was all right. Fairly decent.
I've made a bit of a faux pas with this one.
Oh, right.
Yeah. When I was doing some research, it says that Eric Lowen is a London-based television and film actor, blah, blah, blah. So I assumed that his accent was put on, but no, he's an American.
Oh,
he's a full-on American dude. Yeah.
It's a really, but it sounds so put on.
Exactly. That's weird, isn't it? He's he's from Boston, Massachusetts. He's
he's obviously ramping up the American, isn't it? Because he does sound, but he's probably going for that, a bit like Tallulah. He's going for that sort of twang to the accent, isn't he?
Yeah, true.
I assume, unless he really talks like that, I don't know.
But he's another one that's had a huge voiceover career.
Okay, yeah.
In terms of video games and other stuff, like loads, like from 2003. Any gamers that are listening, he's done the Tomb Raider games, the Battlefield games, Devil May Cry, Crysis, Killzone, Star Wars Battlefront, the Tom Clancy Division games, Horizon Zero Dawn, the Lego games. He's done loads of like voiceover stuff. So, but what a way to describe his terrible accent. He's not even putting it on.
I know.
Jesus, sorry, Eric. Yeah. Anyway, his performance was not bad. He was better as obviously the human for me. He wasn't.
Oh, okay.
That's
interesting because I preferred him as Sec.
Oh, do you know what it was with when he was Sec? It was more that kind of like when he was Mr. Diagoras, and he was just a bit of a hard ass. He was a bit of he had some gumption about him. But when he was Dalek Sec, he kind of did this weird voice where gaps between words were longer and not threatening at all. So when he was doing that, I was like,
"Oh, uncanny!
Get on with it, mate! Come on!" Like, he's got a couple of lines and he's drawing. I can see why, because the Daleks have got that monotonous kind of the way that they talk. Obviously, that classic kind of thing going on. Actually, a little point of reference for the Dalek voices, actually. So when the rest of the cult of Skaro revolt, obviously, against Sec, Nick Briggs, as we know, the go-to guy for the voice of the Daleks, he changed his voice for Dalek Khan. So when Dalek Khan is you hear him in those little moments in the previous parts of the story, he has this kind of deep, gravelly voice to him.
Yeah.
But then towards the end, especially when they start to revolt against Sec, his voice goes up to a higher pitch, which is different, more like a normal original tone for the Daleks. And that's because old Nick Briggs I think there was a genuine reason. He did say that his voice was just cacked at that point, because he was doing so much voice work in this one. So his throat was a bit, knackered and stuff. But then he also did say that the reason why he took his voice up a notch in terms of higher tone is because that's when Dalek Khan starts to become the leader of the cult of Skaro.
Oh, I see.
So he changes his demeanour a little bit. He changes the way he talks to the other Daleks, and so he's got a bit more prominence about him. So there you go. Point of reference for the Dalek tone.
Briggs is great as the Daleks. I love the fact he comes back and always does the Dalek voice. That said, I would just love it if we had a couple of other people doing it as well, because it's great that they, change the modulation to make him sound different when he's different Daleks. But you still kind of get Briggs's voice, I think, because you're so familiar with it now. And when I watch older Doctor Who's where they always used to have at least 2 or 3 different people doing the Dalek voices, I much prefer it. I just would love to hear, because no matter how much you treat a voice, you will always get something about the person's voice will come through. And it doesn't matter what Briggs does to change the modulation, it may make it sound like a different Dalek. You're still kind of aware that it's Nicholas Briggs. So I would, as much as I love him as Daleks, I think he does a great job. I would love to hear like a couple of other people doing it with him. So him to be like the main Dalek, but maybe have just a couple of other people doing the voice, because it would just add a different variation to it. I'm always so aware that it's him doing all the voices. Maybe that's just because I know it's him doing all the voices. I don't know, but I just wish we could get a slightly different sound to the Daleks sometimes, because I in my head I'm just always aware that even if they've changed the tone or whatever, that it's Briggs doing it. I just want to hear somebody else do the Daleks with him.
Yeah.
Not replace him, but just love to hear a variation.
True.
Of different people doing it. You know, like Roy Skelton used to do it, and people like that. So I mean, I know I'm not saying get them to do it, but just get somebody else to have a go. Like, I just see them sort of fighting to get the microphone out of Briggs's hand. Like, let me have a go. No, I'm doing the voices, and that's it.
He's got a monopoly.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he's probably got it in his contract. It's him and him alone, because he does all the voices on Big Finish. I think. I don't think does anybody else do the Daleks on Big Finish?
Don't think so.
Not that I'm aware of. No, let someone else have a go, Nick.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to let go.
Nick, did you hear that? There's a Dalek story coming up in the next series that's already been filmed and done. Just give me a minute. Yeah, I've got Nick Briggs on the phone.
He would go ballistic.
He'd go ballistic, wouldn't he?
Yeah, and as I said, nothing against Nick. I think he's brilliant as the Daleks, but I just would like to hear a different variation for now and again.
Yeah, Chibbers is like, look, Nick, you're not exclusive.
Oh, imagine if he did.
We can hire anybody to voice this. You just hear like tyres screeching, like the phone just hanging off the end of the desk, and he's burnt off to the BBC office. Yeah.
The studio's mysteriously burned down overnight.
Yeah. I'll learn you. Anything else you want to mention, dude, before we whack a score on this one?
Just very briefly, the pig slaves. I just wanted to ask you, because you get the pig slaves, you get the humans with the Dalek guns. I just keep thinking, what's wrong with the Robomen? Why haven't they got some Robomen running around? But what do you think to like the whole pig slave thing? Not so much the human thing, because that's at the end. But what do you think of the pig slaves? Like, would Robomen have been better, or is it interesting to have something different?
No, I think the Robomen, they moved too slow.
They talk
exactly.
I think it's a nice change. I don't quite get the whole pig slave thing, but somehow for me it worked okay, and I think it is nice to have something different than the Robomen. But it's weird. I do keep expecting like a Roboman to pop up.
Yeah, I'll read you. It's I don't mind them.
They're pretty creepy in some scenes. Like, the bit in the forest where they're running towards the camera, and again, good direction. Yeah. There's some good bits. That's what I mean. They were scarier than I remember them. I think if I just say pig slave, we just think, oh god, but they're not too bad.
Yeah, you can see the idea. I think somebody asks somebody. That doesn't help, I know. Somebody asks somebody in the episode what's going to happen to them, and I think it might have been Dalek Sec when he's hybrid. Actually, I think he just says, "Look, they have a limited lifespan."
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they were created just as like short-term lackeys kind of thing, just to carry out what we need them to do, and they'll just naturally die, fairly soon. Yeah. So it's quite dark in that respect, but they're okay. Yeah, I don't mind them. Yes. There was another story with Doctor Who, much later on, where there was a pig legging around.
There was the Ninth Doctor one, where they've got the little pig in the spacesuit.
Oh, was it that one?
You thinking of that?
Yeah, it might have been, actually, yeah.
You only see it for like a split second, yeah.
At the beginning where they operate on it, or they go to operate on it. Oh, was that Eccleston, was it?
That's Eccleston, isn't it? I think it is. Yeah, it's the one in London, isn't it? The Slovene two-parter, isn't it? Because that's Tosh. Tosh is the one operating on it, isn't she?
Yes, yeah, you're right, mate. Yeah, what was that one then? What was it called?
Aliens of London, isn't it?
Aliens of London, was that the one?
World War 3.
Crikey, that's been a while since I've watched that then.
Yeah. Because it says you actually see it on screen for like less than a second, I think. And I think, God, they put all that effort into that costume and it's hardly on screen. Yeah.
Oh, because they have the crash, don't they, at the beginning?
Yeah, you should go back and watch that one. Yeah,
so I might give that a watch, dude. Yeah. Anyway, pig slaves, don't mind them. Yes. Right, scores on the doors. I think it's me to go first.
You go first.
So I'm going to give.
Be low, isn't it?
Yeah, not that. I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Oh, it's not too bad. That's not too bad.
Not too bad. So not a 5. It's not indifferent. But it's just, I found it a bit bored. I'm not going to go into it again, but a little bit bored. Not enough going on in part 1. Cult of Skaro should have been utilised a bit better. Should have been a bit scarier. Yep.
Yeah, I'm a bit stuck on my score, mate, because I've put 7.5, which to me feels a bit low considering how much I liked it. But if I don't really feel it's good enough for an 8. Like if I give something an 8, that's normally it's really good. So I think I'll stick with 7.5.
7.5.
Yeah, because I have a feeling if I was to rewatch that, that's the score I would give it.
Right.
I think I was just pleasantly surprised last night, if you know what I mean. I liked it more than I thought I would. So yeah, I'll go with 7.5.
Cool. Alrighty, so a 6.5 for me, then 7.5 from here. And what did our listeners think? We had 6 audio reviews in, so thank you very much, guys, for taking time to do that. We're going to kick straight off. This is Sammy from Down Under.
G'day, Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, Daleks in Manhattan, Evolution of the Daleks. I love this story. I know some people don't, and yes, it does have its flaws, but it also contains a conversation between 2 Daleks from the cult of Skaro about Dalek sect, something that rarely happens in Doctor Who, let alone New Who. A continuation from the last Dalek story, where we meet the cult of Skaro, Doomsday, and establishes what happened after the emergency temporal shift. It's also a Dalek story about 4 Daleks, and they have a plan. I like that they're experimenting, thinking and scheming. I like Frank, Solomon, Tallulah, Laszlo, and the fact you get a sense of this world and how it works. Mr. Dagros isn't too bad either. I also like the song Tallulah sings, My Angel Put the Devil in Me. Also, Miranda Raison went on to play the 6th Doctor, Big Finish companion Constance Clark. I give it 10 Tallulahs out of 10. See ya.
A 10.
Crikey, Sammy.
A 10.
Laying down the info. And a 10, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know Sammy liked this one so much. That's good.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You didn't tell us why you liked it, Sammy. That was a little mini wiki, a little mini Wikipedia of what happened in other stuff. Your knowledge astounds me, Sammy. But a 10, you must have enjoyed it.
She loved it.
Thank you very much, Sammy. A 10. Moving on, this is Mr. Joe Turner.
This story was a very ambitious one for the time, considering the fact that probably none of it was actually filmed in America. The production team did an incredible job creating the aesthetic of 1930s America, even if the CGI is ropey at times. There is a lot of rather grotesque moments too, with the brain on the floor and Mr. Daigorez getting absorbed by Dalek sec, and there is something really sinister about Daleks in the sewer. Murray is on fire, firstly with My Angel Put the Devil in Me, which is a fantastic jazzy original song, and Evolution of the Daleks, an underrated Dalek theme. On the whole, the supporting cast is good, but there is some dodgy American accents, and it's good to see the cult of Skaro again. The idea of a human Dalek is fantastic and acts as a great cliffhanger to part 1. It's interesting to see the Daleks go against their own leader, and there's some fantastic action sequences between the people of Whoville and the pigs who are fighting alongside the Daleks. The practical effects team must have loved part 2. It was a shame to see Solomon get shot by one of the Daleks, as I enjoyed his character. Tennant is firing on all cylinders throughout this 2-parter. And the final moments of this episode are fantastic. It's shocking to see Dalek Sec accidentally get shot by one of the cult, but it's great to see the Dalek Tommy guns destroying a couple of Daleks. One Dalek escapes, Tennant does a hell of a lot of screaming on top of the Empire State Building, and the direction is absolutely immense, and the ending emotional. Oh yeah, and a certain Andrew Garfield is in this episode, so I guess the real question is he coming back to Doctor Who, not is he in No Way Home? So overall, I'm going to give this episode an 8.5 out of 10. Thank you.
8.5, yeah, decent score.
Yeah, an 8.5, yeah, the directing is immense.
We've got Andrew on the phone. Are you coming back? No. He's in the new Spider-Man, but don't tell anyone.
Yeah, but don't tell anyone. Don't tell the world that already knows that he's in the new Spider-Man. Yeah. An 8.5. It's not a bad score at all.
No.
It's better than Adam's score anyway. Yeah, cheapskate. Right, moving on. Thank you very much, Joe. Moving on, this is TARDISNet66, a.k.a. Will. Let's do it.
Daleks in Manhattan, Evolution of Daleks is, in my opinion, one of the worst of the 10th Doctor era, which is a shame because it's very consistent overall. It has its highlights on its commentary on the Great Depression and the nature of capitalism at the expense of the poverty of others, but all kind of sizzles out. The American accents are nothing but grating. I really dislike the guest cast, particularly Tallulah, who is just Eustace, and I don't like her relationship with Laszlo. The pig slaves lack any kind of scares as henchmen, and would work much better as Robomen. The concept and performance of the human Dalek is also clunky and ridiculous. The story has some interesting concepts, but you really need to be careful with the Daleks steering away from their ideology, and for me, their decisions in this and the nature of Dalek tech don't feel believable or justified that Dalek tech would make these decisions. So add a character for a Dalek without some serious genetic tampering or life-altering experience. I'd give it a 3 out of 10.
3.
A 3.
Crikey
3.
Moses, Will. Not a fan of this one.
No.
I can kind of see some of your points there. I can see.
Actually, yeah, I do. Yeah, joking aside, yeah, I do get what you're saying.
Just not feeling it, though. That's fair enough, dude. Thank you very much for your review. Anyways, moving on, this is Mr. Lewis Palmer.
Hello, guys. Daleks in Manhattan was the first Doctor Who story I ever watched, and it's very hard to try and objectively critique a piece of media which changed the course of my life. Without this story, I wouldn't have half the friends I know now. My entire life would be different. And obviously, it's much derided. It's a much derided story. It's not without its flaws. And I think I'm mature enough to be able to recognise that it has its flaws. Part 2 isn't as good as Part 1. The pig slaves don't really seem to link to anything. But I cannot take away from this the nostalgia connected to it, the happy memories, the sentimentality, the fact that it did change the course of my life. I watch it and just so many happy memories come flooding back. I loved it as a 5-year-old and I love it as a nearly 20-year-old. Plus, Andrew Garfield's in it, Captain Panaka's in it from The Phantom Menace, and any story that has the guts to pull out a big Broadway musical number halfway through gets a lot of respect from me. So, yeah, lots of happy memories surrounding this one. My first Doctor Who story. I'll see you next time, guys.
That's cool.
That's lovely, actually. Yeah, it's always nice to hear when, somebody's first experience of Doctor Who, their first story and everything. So, yeah, it's great, Lewis.
Yeah, and there's something very cool about having that distinction between not being clouded by nostalgia or good feelings and actually being able to, like Lewis said, sometimes it's difficult to objectively land criticism on something when you've got such fond memories. Like your memories are more fond than what you're watching, if that makes sense. You can see past that stuff. So can completely see where you're coming from with that, Lewis. So that's really cool, man. It's cool that this is one of your faves because it's one. Did you say it was the first one? Did Lewis say that he watched?
First one he saw, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Thank you very much, Lewis. Very cool. Moving on, this is Mr. Neil Campbell.
Hi guys, how's it going? So, this story, it often gets absolutely battered, but I'm often of the opinion I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as some people make it out to be. I mean, I think it's all right. I'm not going to sit here and say it's an absolute bona fide classic, but I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as, what some people lead you to believe. I think the concept of it is actually a good idea, just maybe the execution of it isn't exactly what it should be. Looking back, I think Dalek Zek, in the human form is a bit dated looking and does look a bit silly. And on top of that as well, the CGI hasn't aged particularly well because they're clearly not in New York. But I don't mind it it would have got to a stage in Doctor Who where a lot of Dalek stories are very similar. And this here, it's kind of different. And just because it's so different, people don't like it. But I don't think it's that bad. And like I said before, I love Series 3. Absolutely love it. And there's some great theme tunes, and orchestrations and stuff throughout this story as well. So, yeah, and David Tennant, he's absolutely brilliant. I like Freema as Martha, and obviously the future Spider-Man in there too, but I don't think it's that bad at all. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Cheers.
7.
Yeah, 7. I agree about the music. It's really made me want to dig out the Series 3 soundtrack, actually. Give that a listen.
Yeah, it's a cool... Do you know what, dude? Series 3 and 4.
3 and 4, yeah.
I've got such amazing soundtracks from Gold. There's some absolutely beautiful stuff in the Eccleston series, especially Rose's theme and some other bits and pieces.
Yeah, Father's Day theme.
Exactly, yeah. But for some reason, Series 3 and 4, you can just listen to them back to back and it's just an up and down. It's just really, really cool soundtracks, those. And Neil's like, this one gets absolutely battered, but you know what? I quite like it. So, yeah, fair play, Neil.
Cheers, Neil.
Cheers very much, Neil. Last one, this is Toby Coleman.
1 and 1 and 1 is 3. My bad, bad angel put the devil in me. Okay, here's my review for the Series 3 Dalek two-parter. Now, this story is possibly the first story I remember watching live, as the ending is very vivid in my memory. I personally really like it, and I don't mind the whole human Dalek thing, or even the look of Dalek Sec, the human Dalek Sec. Tennant and Adjament give amazing performances, especially Tennant in the scene where he has to confront the Daleks in Hooverville. I love the supporting cast, and I find that the design of the pig slaves are quite creepy. I love how it just ties all these different concepts of the poverty and the Great Depression, and the fate that beholds Diagoras is hard to watch. I would give this episode 7.5 human Daleks as out of 10.
7.5.
Same as me. Good score.
Same as you, yeah. Didn't even hear your score to copy either. That was a genuine 7.5. Thank you very much, Toby. Much appreciated, as all of our guys that took the time out to the audio review. So Sammy, Joe, Will, Lewis, Neil and Toby, thank you very much for sending your audio clips in. It's much appreciated. Moving on to the socials then. Over on Twitter, our writer Jordan Shortman says, as a kid I remember enjoying this one. As an adult I'm not so sure it stands up. It loses itself in the second episode. The human Dalek looks very rude. I was quite glad they got rid of the cult of Skaro at the end of this story. Oh, not a fan of the old cult then.
That's just your filthy mind, Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan.
We never even thought that, did we, Gary?
Not at all, not once.
No.
Chippy T says, never liked the cop-out of Daleks surviving by emergency temporal shifts. Just say they were locked down and missed the mass destruction of their race. It's all a bit silly, really. If the Daleks can fly unseen to wipe out Hooverville, why not do it? Why not do a bit of empire welding? 5.5 from Chippy T. Not impressed.
Oh dear, not impressed.
Doctor Who Home says, an underrated classic. I love how this story continues to explore how the Daleks survive and plan on surviving in post-Time War times. Tennant is on fire here, and it's got so many great characters. The pig slaves, Frank, Solomon, and of course, the iconic Laszlo. I love it. 9 out of 10.
9, cool.
Nice. Edward Giluli says, not as bad as I originally thought, but not a classic. The idea of Daleks in NYC is a good one, but the human Dalek idea doesn't quite work. 6 out of 10. And Sarah Louise, a running Whovian, says, I enjoyed this two-parter. It was easy viewing with an interesting storyline and characters. Some elements seemed a little far-fetched and weren't completely convincing, but overall, I thought it was a pleasant watch. 7 out of 10.
Right, okay.
Indeedy. And then over on Facebook, just a few over there. So Andrew Stewart says, story has a lot of great ideas. For the first time in a while, made the Daleks quite scary. However, it was too much to cram into a two-part story. I could easily watch it, but there would be other stories I would choose above this one. And then Andrew goes on to give it 7.5 for Daleks in Manhattan and a 5 out of 10 for Evolution of the Daleks.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes. One of our writers, Harry, says, I remember the cliffhanger to this one scaring the absolute crap out of my 6-year-old self. The human Dalek Sec hybrid is horrific. Really made me really well made makeup. There's some good ideas in this underrated story. Nice to see Spidey swinging by too. I'd give it 8 devils in me out of 10.
Cool.
Charlie Turner says, the weakest of the RTD era Dalek stories, but with a few good ideas here and there, despite feeling a bit like the mostly lost Troughton story, The Evil of the Daleks, with a humanised Dalek concept.
Yes.
Yes, now that the animation for that story is officially happening, then I can only hope that the humanised Dalek concept is done better than rather it is here. Not an awful story, though, as it's still plenty good watching, but you have to be in the right mood. 8 out of 10.
Too true, yeah. Definitely have to be in the right mood.
Indeedy. And lastly, Jeff Waddle. Now, Jeff is normally quite critical when he needs to be, but also praises when praise is due. So Jeff, and this is a praise one, so well done, Jeff. He says, a car crash of a story with its core concept being a human is absorbed into a Dalek and comes out as a hybrid, fully suited. When you think about that, it's hardly any wonder the rest of the story is all over the place. It was a good idea to have the Daleks return to their purpose of scientists, but it could/should have been handled better than this, and all they seem to accomplish is pigmen. When if they wanted slaves, surely the Robo-Men would have been an easier option. Bizarre choices all round, 2 out of 10.
2. So Jeff loved it.
Jeff loved it.
I knew he would.
We knew Jeff would love this one. Absolutely. Thank you very much, guys. So that's the socials. Thank you very much, everybody, for getting in touch. Love hearing what you guys think. I think a bit hit and miss, this one, dude.
It's a real mixed bag, actually,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, a bit. Next week, then, what have we got?
Yeah, oh, can you believe it? We're finally at the end of Series 2 of Torchwood next week. With, yes, we've made it. With the story Exit Wounds. So we'll be finishing up Torchwood Series 2. Yeah, I hope it's a good one after last week.
Oh, yeah. So he's back, is it? Captain John Hart, isn't it? He's back.
Yeah, he's back, yeah.
Yeah, he's got Captain Jack's brother hostage, and the stuff is about to hit the fan.
That's it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. So, yeah, Exit Wounds next week. Cool. All right, dude. Let's wrap there for episode 324.
All righty.
Thank you very much for listening to episode 324 of the Big Blue Box podcast. It's been lovely to have you here as we've chatted all things Doctor Who and reviewed the 10th Doctor two-parter, Daleks in Manhattan, Evolution of the Daleks. Thank you very much to those of you that sent in your reviews and whatnot. It's great to hear from you as always. Next week, as Adam said, we are over on Torchwood to finish up, finally, Series 2 with the episode Exit Wounds. So get your Blu-rays or DVDs out. Torchwood is still on iPlayer here in the UK anyway, so get that watched, as we'll be asking for your thoughts as always. In the meantime, remember to make sure that you follow our show on whatever podcast app you listen to your podcasts on, whether that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, over on Stitcher, anything like that. Make sure you follow us so that you won't miss a show when they land every single Friday. And if you've got a minute to leave a review, and that is on something like Apple Podcasts or podchaser.com, those kind of things, if you've got a minute to leave a review, that would be amazing, because that helps us out loads and loads if you like the show. And thank you to those of you that have left very kind words for us on those reviews. It's much appreciated. Also, head over to our website, www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all the episodes on there as well, all for free. Go and check those out. We're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. There are links on the website, or just search for us in those apps. We chat Doctor Who over there throughout the week and post little tidbits and chat with the community and stuff. So come and give us a like and a follow if you don't already. Also, check out the reviews, articles and all that stuff on the website. We have a very cool writing team, very, very talented bunch of guys there putting out their thoughts and reviews on Doctor Who. And we have a free Discord server as well. I'm going to have to put all this stuff in a pre-recorded thing, I think.
No, you do it well.
We have a free Discord server as well. It's free to sign up. Come and chat Doctor Who over there. Loads of very cool people there. Come and get your Doctor Who on and chat that stuff. Also, check out my co-host channel over on YouTube. It is, of course, The Geek's Handbag.
Indeed, yeah. Lots of videos await you on my YouTube channel, and I'm also on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, but not TikTok.
Not TikTok. So go and check out Adam's stuff. Loads of cool bits and bobs over there. Until next time, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember,
Allons-y.